Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank y'all for tuning in to the Gator Gang podcast. I'm your host, Bobby, and I'm joined with my co-hosts, Daryl and Lucas. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. My mom's out of town, so it's gonna just be me and Dan tonight. So I'm ready to talk some Gator football.
Oh yeah, definitely. Always exciting to talk some Gator football. And this week, Florida has a tough task on their hands, playing South Carolina on the road,
At
in
night,
Columbia. At night, 7:30. So it's going to be a big game. Both teams coming into this game 4-4. So it's obviously going to be an interesting matchup. And despite the crazy season that Florida has had, we got to get back to what winning is like. With a record of 4-4, and this game is huge. Daryl, what do you see going into this game?
It's a must win. I mean, we have to start building. Dan's got to start building the trust back of the fan base, and not that he's completely lost everybody, but the media and the fan base. He's got to start rallying around the team and get this win. This is a big game. I mean, South Carolina is not they're not the Vanderbilts. They're a good program. So and it's going to be at night, and they're going to be rocking. So Dan's got to
and
go in and prove that he can
we
go get
got
a
four
win
winnable games. We
at
have
an away
to.
stadium.
We got four winnable games down the stretch.
Yeah.
We have.
Every game we've traveled, we haven't won except the you know one down there in South Florida. But I mean, that's it. Everything else we've lost: Jacksonville, Kentucky, LSU. So he's got to go prove that he can go get this win at in an SEC stadium, and just turn. He's got to start turning the tide right here.
That was another thing that I was going to get into eventually, and that's a great. I'm glad you bring it up. To the fact that this game is in South Carolina. They're not a scrub team. They're a decent team,
They're not.
um,
They're
and
not bad, but they're not great either. They're.
know that they have some weaknesses, but they also have some some positives. And when you look at this game as a matchup of our offense versus their defense has 11 interceptions on the year and 17 turnovers, total. So they can create a mismatch. They can create some turnovers. So Florida's really got to be able to have a game plan for them, and we're third in the SEC in rushing. So I say this game is going to be a heavily run dominated by the Gators, or at least in my mind it should be.
Yeah, it should be because
We ought to be
if we
able to
don't,
control the game with the run game and slow it down. South Carolina got that new coach over there, Beamer, and he's trying to get
that's a
that
French
program
kid
turned
too.
around. He's got a lot of history as the son of a coach, so there's going to be a lot
That's
of passion in this game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, South Carolina, they play with some heart. And just to say that the record is 4-4, that's enough to say that South Carolina, they're going to feel confident. They're at home and they're going to feel like they can beat the
They,
Gators.
uh,
It don't
If
matter
you
they
would
about the
told me,
talent gap.
I don't mean to cut you off, Bobby, but if you would have told me it would be 2-4 in the SEC, I would have told you we were lying going into the year.
It's just been that kind of year, and honestly, Florida has led in total yards in every single game that we've played. But when you look at the stats, and that's why sometimes stats ain't everything. I mean,
no,
um,
they're not, and this is a expectations super high because everybody compares last year to this year. This is a different year. We're not don't have Kyle Trask. We're not throwing the ball all over the plates. We went to a running store. This was a rebuilding transitional year. I don't care what people say. And two losses are to number one teams in the country. One was terrible, one was close at home. The other two were unacceptable losses. So there's no moral victories. There's no excuses. But I'm
If
saying that
if we cut down the turnovers, we don't have it. Oh, let's say we cut the turnovers in half, we're probably staring at a 5-2 record. So this team
yeah.
isn't as
Well,
bad as
yeah, they're not bad. Florida's the most underranked team in the country. Could they be better? Of course they could. They got to sure up those tackles and just play better. They just got to play better all around and go out there and move the ball. But am I disappointed? Yeah, of course I am. But did I expect to go win national championship year? No, not this year. I thought we would lose to Alabama at home. Um, the Georgia game was going to be close. I didn't think Georgia was going to be as good as they are, but Georgia's really good. So
They
did
might
I
win the.
actually?
They might. Let's put it this way: we might not be able to make the 1980 jokes a lot longer.
Yeah, they're probably going to go compete for a national championship, if not win one.
Uh,
So, great teams. So two of those losses, okay, two of them losses should not be expected, but you can't beat yourself up about those. The other two, we probably should have won those games. Kentucky's a better team than people think as well. I mean, people aren't giving Kentucky credit for what they are right now. Kentucky's turning around into a football program. And this talking about this game coming up with South Carolina, Kentucky and South Carolina was 16-10. So South Carolina did give Kentucky a fight. Um,
Oh, sorry, guys.
so it's not
Sorry,
a
guys.
not a jump team to go play this
But
weekend.
yeah, I mean the game is 7:30 on SEC
just for
Network.
the just for the
Put it on
record,
the
guys,
script.
I'm not gonna be able to stream it because I'm in Facebook jail. So somebody else, if you guys want to have somebody else stream it, go ahead. But I won't be able to stream the game because I'm in Facebook jail.
So one of the biggest questions coming into this game, and I alluded to before we came on here, is which Florida team will show up. I
The
mean, will
one
we
that
beat the Alabama, against Alabama in the second, third, and fourth quarter, where we're almost playing like a good complete game, minus one quarter, or are we going to come out and look like how we looked against LSU, not be able to get off a block, not be able to tackle, or are we going to come out, versus Kentucky, and just have penalties? So, it seems like, we patch one hole, we have another one, we're trying to patch that one. There's another one. There's only so many patches, that you can hold before another one, breaks, and then, now water's coming in shit. But, one thing we all need to, realize is, Florida, it can be very great. Like you said, Daryl, this is a rebuilding year from a big transition of having a quarterback like Kyle Trask to now going to a quarterback like Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care what people think. I mean, I know expectations are always national championship, but this was a rebuilding year for people. If you don't realize that we went from one completely different style quarterback. We lost 2,000 yards of production into the NFL, and probably one of the best tight ends in the country. So yeah, there is a rebuild here, and
and people, I know people don't want to hear it, but it took Steve Berger 6 years to win.
it did take 3 or 6 years. I mean, it took him 6 years to win one national championship, and and you know what? The one thing that I thought Dan did great this week, and he was frustrated Monday, so he cuts off media. He does his mandated media press, of course, but he gets that away from the players. The best thing he could have done this week, because you got to get away from all this negativity around what's going on. You got to get it away. Spurrier did it right after they lost to Florida State, and they went and go and killed him in the national championship game. So, and other coaches have done this before too. Myers has cut media after big losses, and stuff. So I don't know why people are giving a big thing about Mullen doing it. I guess it's just an easy story for him to do. But I thought it was perfect. Get the negativity out of the program. Get these kids away from the negativity. Don't let them go to these press conferences. Let's
And
focus on the
social
game, because
media
that's
too.
what you do.
You gotta.
All it did was raise more questions. So I mean, I'm not saying that shutting down the media raise more questions. What
No,
I'm saying is, if you have the media asking
yeah,
the
it's just
questions, and
more and more.
it's just more and more, and you gotta shut that out.
Yeah,
And the presence has got to be what the mentality is in the locker room.
yeah,
And don't look at social media. Don't look at the media. Focus on what's ahead.
Yeah. So the reason I'm going to answer the question, the reason why I feel like this year was a rebuilding year is you're lost so much talent to the NFL. I mean, who did you replace those guys with? Tell me who you replaced Kyle Pitts with, or the most passing quarterback that we've had in UF history. Who did we place them with?
We
So yeah, it's a rebuilding year, and then two. this year was a year to say, okay, Grantham, did you fix the defense? No, he didn't fix the defense. Do I think Grantham's gone? Yeah, I do think Grantham's gone this year. But I'm asking, like, we got a lot of good players that came in, but there's still a lot of young guys out there that they replaced these guys with, and none of them have matched. Copeland's not even close to matching, I mean, these numbers that these guys that left, the talent that left.
Darius
Yeah,
Tony.
new players come in all the time. You're correct. But Kyle Pitts didn't come in and become a star tight end initially right off the bat. It took
Right.
him a couple years
It
to
took
get to that.
him. It took him
So
2 years
there's
to.
some guys that are in there. We lost so much talent. You could see it in the Oklahoma game. We had lost so much. I think that Oklahoma game last year and that bowl game would have been so much closer if a lot of those guys didn't sit out.
Mm-hmm.
So
We
you could
probably would
tell
have.
there.
I don't mean to
You
cut
could
you
tell
off,
there.
Daryl, but we probably would have won that game if.
Probably. I mean, we probably would have made it a lot more competitive if not. It would have been a 20 to 50 something blowout. But we lost a lot of people. I mean, go back and look at the offensive number of players that we lost last year and tell me where we replaced those guys, because we didn't replace them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that's recruiting and some of that's because we have a lot of young guys. And then we did a 180. We went from the best passing team in the country
To
to
the
the
best
best
rushing
running
team.
team in the country. You
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, it's a
You know,
complete 180 turn. And I just, it was a rebuilding year. This was not a
you don't
national
go from.
championship.
You don't go from. Let's. Unless you're Steve Spurrier, you don't go from best passing offense to the best running offense and expect to win a national championship. It just doesn't happen.
I didn't have us winning the championship. If anything, I had us winning a championship in 2020. Our defense prevented us from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I had us winning one that year. I thought that was the year that we were going to do it, and then I thought we were very close, getting to the SEC championship game. But we just didn't have the defense to compete. And Grantham got another year for whatever reason. He got another year, and obviously he hasn't fixed those issues either, because we would have won the Alabama game. You have a defense.
You play
You
defense.
would have won the LSU game. You have a defense. So it's the defense is the problem. It's not that we're not scoring points. We're not stopping nobody.
We're scoring 41 points and still losing games. That's
With the exception of the Georgia game, we didn't score a lot of points in that game. I think we could have done better, but we didn't score a lot of points. But we also faced probably the most historical defense in the last 20 years, 10 years. So I'll give a pass on that one.
I definitely look at it like this. Florida, has had up and down in the season, regardless of who's been quarterback, what's going on defense. But I would say Todd Grantham got this year because of 2020 being the COVID year and not being able to be with the team, and that was kind of more or less an excuse. And I'm not trying to say it's excusable, but that's their excuse. And his contract ended this year at the end of 2021. So it was like, okay, 2020 was a crazy year. We all know that. So we're going to give you one more year to see if you can fix the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And Daryl, as you said, he has not done that. So I think he's gone. Some new eyes are going to come in the program, and
I think you could see. I think you could see some other staff changes. I don't know what they're going to be like on the defensive side of the ball. If I had to bet money, I would say C. Rob is probably gone because he might get a better coaching job.
Well, it's all up in the air. We don't know. In a lot of ways, I hate to see changes, big changes like this made, because you're not just going to have a new defensive coordinator come in and you're just going to start off winning. You're not. It's not going to happen that way. You're going to have some young players. You're going to have some, players that sign with us decommit because sometimes they like the coach, and it may be a different defense. The new coach is running, so it's all a change, and
yeah, I've always said
it's difficult.
Bobby, and you guys know me, I'm very conservative when it comes to getting rid of a coach, and that's the reason being. It's just there's so much that when you get rid of a coach, you're basically telling yourself, whether it's a head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, any assistant, you're basically saying, okay, well, the next 2 to 3, 4 years, we're going to give you an opportunity to fix what's the problem. So you're doing that buy-in for the next 2 to 3 years, whether it's the offense or the defense. So okay, some guys may come in and just be like, "Wow, we just fixed it, right?" Others take some time to fix it. So it, yeah, we're probably going to get rid of our defensive coordinator. There's probably going to be a lot of guys that get rid of on the defensive side, and there's going to be consequences to it. You're going to lose some recruits that were committed to those guys, and I'm not saying that we won't gain some back, but it is going to hurt. It's going to hurt us the first. It's going to hurt us next year, initially. So.
And that was why one of my biggest questions about next year for, we know that if Dan Mullen, has a crap season next year, then he's probably going to be gone at the end of next year. And I don't want to see that because, we're far from where we were offensively. We just need the defense.
Him now, you're probably. Does anybody remember the 10-year hole we were stuck in?
Oh, it would be horrible.
I mean, I understand, and I get it. We're 4-11, or 4-7 in our last 11 games.
2-9 in the last,
and 2-9 in the last, against Power 5. So, some things got to get changed. Changes have got to be made. We can't be having, these kind of games or in a season. Obviously, it's what you're always told. Win your home games and win the games you're supposed to. Obviously the home game against Alabama, that might not be a game that you're supposed to win, but it's a home game. So you try to win it. We were close, but then we get in Georgia, and then we look like the talent gap, shifted a whole lot. But then again, you take 3 minutes out. Hold on, Lucas. You take 3 minutes out of that game, and you go into halftime. Just 3-0. So that changes the whole dynamic of the game.
And if Torrance doesn't take the ball out, we get the ball at the 20.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it would have been 3-0. You take the last 3 minutes of that second quarter out. Mm-hmm. Florida was playing a good game up to that point, and then it just seemed like they just gave up.
It literally gets to a handful of plays to decide a game, and we've seen it in the Kentucky game. We've seen it in the LSU game. We've seen it in the Alabama game. So there were 3 games. When you play in the SEC, no game is a gimme game. It's gonna be tough. So if you add 3 positive plays. In those 3 games that I just mentioned, we only have 1 loss right now. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we are literally that close. And I don't like to see that, people are coming for Grantham. I can see coming for Grantham, but coming for Mullen when, we're doing what he's doing. And I get, the recruiting is an issue, but he works the transfer portal great.
Yeah. I was about to say, Bobby, I do understand that he is not the best recruiter, but he is really good about using that transfer portal. And so my question is with that transfer portal, Luke, who's the guy that's coaching for Michigan State right now? He went out and grabbed 20 guys from that transfer portal, and he's in the conversation.
One of them, Justin Kimmerell, was a former Gator too.
Yeah. So what do you have to be this elite recruiter in the day and age, or is Dan Mullen ahead of the game by using the transfer portal? That's my question.
I think you have to be a mixture of both. I think
you have to be both, but he does use that transfer portal pretty well. He fills a lot of holes.
If you think about it, this type of recruiting nowadays is about pandering to kids and getting them into the NFL.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're in a different age of where we're going in college football. You have, and I'm gonna get into this. And I know it's a little off topic, but I feel like it's such a great conversation of seeing where college football is going, because I feel that with recruiting and money being huge and being a top tier program, all these little tiny, schools that are doing good, like Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina, SMU, all these teams that are doing relatively good that are in the top 25. They're not going to be able to hang with anybody in these top tier teams that are able to spend the big money on recruiting.
No, they're not because they don't recruit from the same talent pool that the big boys do.
Exactly, and you might be able to go to some of these players are kind of like going to a small school
Yeah.
because they'll be able to get the start. Then
I'm
and they'll know they'll be nationalized.
gonna tell
But when
you,
it comes to getting money, that's good. That's going to be a big factor on where they go. Everybody wants money.
yeah, money is gonna be a big factor. I know people don't want to hear that, but these $1 million boosters and car owners and these lawyers they're gonna have to get involved because we're gonna keep losing these guys. And the
Mhm.
way I think recruiting's really changed over the years is back in the '90s and in the '80s, kids played for their state because you didn't have this media and national exposure for all these high schools and these schools that we do today. Media and exposure has really grown in college football the
Mhm.
last 20 years. So now you're playing on a national level. So now kids from Florida are looking at schools in Alabama and Georgia and South Carolina and California and Oregon. So the recruiting has just changed over the last 20 years because of how social media has developed. Facebook wasn't around. The internet wasn't around, 20 years ago. So this stuff is starting to develop, and I think that's why you start hearing it more nationally, and that's where things have changed. Kids from Florida aren't staying in Florida. Of course, kids in Alabama ain't always staying in Alabama either. So it's just a whole nother
I
ball
mean,
game.
look
And,
at
and
there in my school. Look at Scooby Williams. He was supposed to go to. He was supposed to go to Auburn, but the Gators got him. So that just proves their
yeah, it's
point.
just it's really changed in that regard. And then you have the transfer portal, so now kids don't have to be penalized if they're a graduate transfer. They can transfer wherever the heck they want to, and so
And,
now you got a lot of coaches that are pulling from these pools. Hey, you want to come? Come on, I'll fill the hole there. And um, I mean, it's worked. I mean, Dan's found some pretty good guys out of that transfer portal. I mean,
mhm,
um, really, if you think about it, if you really go back and you look at the guys that he has found, what was it? He got one from Clemson, like a running back from Clemson.
mhm.
Uh,
Marcus
um,
Bowman.
yeah,
But
he got
but
a number.
here's the
He got a
thing,
number five.
we have like two transfers that are starters
Yeah, from
over players that Dan Mullen and the staff has recruited.
recruited.
Do you see that as an issue that players that you're transferring are better than the players that you're actually recruiting?
I just think that's the where we are. I mean, if you can go find a kid from high school that's really good, okay. But 9 times out of 10, when you grab that kid from high school and you go find somebody from the transfer portal, that guy from the transfer portal's got more games under his belt.
Mhm,
He just got more games under. It's just facts. I mean, he's just going to have more experience, even if he's only there for a year or two. But heck, that freshman that you just recruited may only been there for a year or two. So I'm not really so sure Dan's behind the ball game. I think he's using the transfer portal, and I think he's finding guys. You just don't hear about them in the recruiting stats, and it don't end up on the rankings because those transfer guys don't count in your rankings for your classes.
mhm, right.
But he has found some really good guys, and people don't tend to they don't tend to look at that. They always want to look, well, we're a 25th in the ranking class. Yeah, but we just grabbed 3 5 stars and one 5-star running back. We got a 4-star defensive tackle from Georgia. I mean,
A five-star wide receiver.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so he has grabbed some talent from these other guys. And honestly, I think the transfer portal's better because them guys have played in games. So they have some game experience versus some kid from high school.
That's true. That's very true. Um, But we got the game versus South Carolina this weekend, and we're going to get into our game predictions. And Lucas, I'm going to start with you. How do you feel this game is going to go against South Carolina?
I have us winning 41-14. I just don't think South Carolina is going to be able to hang with us. I mean, I think I think we're gonna come out pissed off over our last 3 games and just beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you had the faith in the Gators to play that complete game. So Daryl, how you feeling? Daryl, let me ask you this: can the Gators put together a complete game?
I don't know. and I don't know if they can right now. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I think they definitely want to change the perspective of things, but I'm not sure if we'll see a complete game. I have them winning. I do have them winning. I have it 21-10. I think this game's going to be a controlled running game, and I think they're just going to go back to the well and
And
run
guys,
Emery
I don't mean
and
to cut you off, but once again, I won't be able to stream the game because I'm in physical
yeah.
jail. So somebody else is gonna have to do it if they want to stream the
All
game.
right. So 21-10, I think it's going to be a running game. I think Florida's going to slow the game down and run the ball, and it might be a little boring, but I think they will come out with the win. It's just going to be a little different.
You know, you kind of have a lot of take of what I was going to say. I definitely think we need to get back to feeding the running game, getting the running game going because at one point in time, well, we were second in the nation, and
Mhm.
rushing, so that's huge. And in the last two games, we haven't rushed in over 200 yards in a game, so. We need to get that going since that is kind of where we're at and what we're looking at. And I will say Emory Jones is the starter because Anthony Richardson has not practiced yet this week. So I bet even if he was healthy and back and all that, I still say play Emory or EJ5, start him, and then see where the game goes with him, and sprinkle in AR-15 if he's healthy, if he's good, play him. If not, rest him. He is our future. But my prediction for this game, I'm gonna go 31-20. I'm going to go 31-20. I feel like we're not going to have the best game offensively because of the rushing attack. With South Carolina having 17 takeaways on the season, 11 interceptions. I just don't know if passing is the right thing for Florida to do because we've obviously seen that EJ is interception prone. Anthony Richardson's intercept prone. So I mean, yeah, they could play great, but we're playing against a good secondary.
Yeah, we cannot turn the ball over. We can't be turning the ball over. You know, Georgia had less yards than us, only by 1 yard, because they had three stinking drives in the red zone, basically.
Hmm.
So we can't turn the ball over. We in LSU the same thing. We turn the ball over too many times. We got to correct that. That has to be a focus is to get those turnovers taken care of because you can't win a game that way.
No, absolutely not. Um, but before we get off of here, Lucas, do you have any final thoughts
And
that you want to drop?
you, like I said, like we said last week, come out, support the players. I know it's not the season we wanted, but being a Gator is supporting the team. Go win or lose, I'll always be a Gator. So I just want to make them support. So support the team, win or lose, and go Gators beat South Carolina.
There you
And
go.
Yeah, that's the same. Perfect point. Always support Florida, and I know everybody does, and I know that the frustrations are there, and you know, keep in mind that there are kids that they pay attention to everything that everybody says in the media, and that can have a negative impact on the university as a fan base. We can have a negative impact on the university, so we don't want to be a part of that. We want to always try to be upbuilding and support these guys, man. I mean, that's what we're doing. We support the University of Florida, the University of Florida. So do that, even if you don't like the coach or you don't like who the quarterback is. Pull for the University of Florida.
Hmm.
Okay, so leave all the other stuff out of it.
Exactly. Um, you know, Social media is huge nowadays, and that's where a lot of things are. So let's be positive on social media. Let's be positive in the stadium. Recruits see this, coaches see this, parents see this, and we if we want to, winning is a positive thing, and to get the winning, you got to be positive, and that starts with the fan base all the way up to the head coach. So we've all got to support each other, and if the team is supporting each other, then we fans need to get behind them and show the same support, if not more. Because Go ahead, Daryl.
Hey, real quick, look at some recruiting information. Look, I talked to my boys, and you got a good recruit in let's see, 2033 and 2031. Okay, so be looking out for them. They're 100% committed. I talked to them boys. They are 1,000% committed to the university. All right, so 20. So be ready for that coming. All right.
Yeah, so we got some long term commits already. So that's huge. Always, as we get off of here, we how it goes. If you ain't a Gator, South Carolina, you must be Gator bait.
Gator bait.